Today on Sugar Spun Run, I'll be showing you how to make an angel food cake completely from scratch. Angel food cake is a light, airy, and so simple to make cake. While it might look plain, the name for this cake is very appropriate because the texture and taste is absolutely heavenly. This angel food cake recipe is my mom's recipe. It's one she's been making for years, and everywhere she takes it, people always want the recipe. To start, you will need to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. You're also going to need a tube pan for this recipe. I recommend using one with a removable bottom. As you can see, this pan is well used and well loved. Now grab a medium-sized bowl and add 1 1/4 cups of powdered sugar. Next, you'll need the flour. Now we always make this cake using all-purpose flour, so you will need 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. However, this cake can also be made with cake flour if you prefer or if you happen to have that on hand. If you use cake flour, you'll need to use 1 cup. Add this in with your powdered sugar and then whisk your sugar and flour together until they're well combined and set these aside. Next, you're going to want to measure out 1 cup of granulated sugar and set this aside as well. Now let's get to the eggs. You're going to need 1 1/2 cups of egg whites for this recipe. These should be at room temperature, and for me, this is usually about 10 to 12 eggs. It is extremely important that the bowl that you're adding your eggs to is completely clean and dry and grease-free. If it's not, your egg whites could end up not whipping like they're supposed to. Also, when cracking your eggs, it's very important that you don't get any of the yolks in with the white. I usually crack my eggs in a separate small bowl and then add the white to a measuring cup. That way, if I do get some egg yolk contamination, I'm only wasting 1 egg instead of all of the ones I've already cracked. Now pour your egg whites into the bowl of your stand mixer and add 1 1/2 teaspoons of cream of tartar, 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now you can use a whisk or a paddle attachment with your mixer. I'm just using my paddle attachment today, and stir these together until they're just combined. Now gradually increase your mixer speed to high. With the mixer running on high, you're going to want to add about 1 tablespoon of sugar at a time, adding another tablespoon only after the first has been dissolved. It usually takes about 10 to 15 seconds for the sugar to dissolve. If you're mixing your egg whites in a metal bowl, you can usually tell by the sound of the sugar scraping against the bowl. Once you no longer hear that, you know the sugar's been dissolved. Alright, now beat this mixture until the egg whites reach stiff peaks. And what this means is that if you lift the beater out of the mixture, the peak that forms will hold its shape. It will not fold over or fall back into itself. The mixture will be thickened, glossy, and as you see, it will have increased greatly in volume. Now remove your bowl from your stand mixer and go ahead and grab your flour and sugar mixture from earlier. Gradually, about 1/4 of the flour mixture at a time, add this to your egg white mixture and use a clean spatula to gently fold the ingredients together. Now it is very important when you're doing this that you do not overmix the batter. You do not want to deflate your egg whites, so take care and stir just until the ingredients are well combined. Do make sure to scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl so that you don't miss any of the egg white mixture. Okay, now grab that tube pan that we talked about earlier. This is a 10-inch tube pan, and you do not want to grease this, just use it as is. And now spread the angel food cake batter evenly into the tube pan. Now use a knife or an icing spatula to cut through the batter. What this is doing is we're going to get rid of any air bubbles that may exist in your batter. Alright, now let's bake our angel food cake in our 375 degree Fahrenheit oven for about 35 minutes or until the top springs back lightly when touched. Any cracks in your angel food cake should look dry. While the cake is baking, you're going to want to grab a can or a bottle that you can invert your tube pan onto when it's done baking. I just use a can. Now immediately once the cake is done baking, you're going to take that and invert that onto your can or your bottle, and then allow it to cool completely. This could take several hours. I do want to note that if you have a tube pan that has the prongs on the end, meant for just flipping it right over and standing it up like that, I don't recommend using those. I have found that it pulls the sides of the pan away from the cake and can cause the cake to actually fall out. You don't want that. So even if you have a cake pan like that, I still recommend using a can or a bottle to cool your angel food cake. Once your cake is finished cooling, go ahead and remove it from the can or the bottle and use a sharp knife to cut around the sides of the cake to remove the cake from the edge of the pan. I'll usually also run the knife around the center of the tube pan to break it away from that as well. Now, because we used a tube pan with a removable bottom, you can go ahead and lift up your cake and then invert it onto a serving platter. Again, grab your knife and use that to separate the bottom of the cake from the tube pan. Now your angel food cake is ready to slice and serve. Because of the light, airy texture of this cake, I recommend using a sharp serrated knife like a bread knife and using that to gently saw through the cake. We always like to top our angel food cake off with homemade whipped cream and fresh berries. And that is how you make my favorite, completely from scratch, angel food cake. I know I say this a lot, but I really do think you guys are going to love this recipe. It's easy and it tastes a million times better than anything you're ever going to get from the store or out of a box. I really hope you'll try it out for yourself, and please, if you do, leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.